Namaskar. Welcome to Hamska Academy. Today we are going to learn about the third chapter of grade 7, Delhi Sultans. Let me share my screen. Right. Welcome to today's topic, from garrison towns to empires. Today we are going to discuss about from garrison town to empire, the expansion of Delhi Sultanate rule. In the early 13th century, the control of the Delhi Sultans was very limited, was rarely went beyond heavily fortified towns occupied by garrison. What is the meaning of the word garrison? Garrison means being stationed there, being present there for a long period of time. So the Delhi Sultanate rule by early 13th century never crossed beyond the fortified towns, their own towns. The sultans seldom controlled hinterland of the cities. Sultans rarely, occasionally had a control, means not a common thing. So never had a control on the interior lands of the cities, the hinterlands, the interior places on which the city is dependent. They never had control on that, where therefore they are dependent upon trade, tribute or plunder for supplies. So we are discussing here how did the rule of the Delhi Sultanate or Delhi Sultans grew. Initially, they had very small area under their control and they never go beyond the fortified towns. They never controlled the inner lands or the interior parts of the lands for the cities. They are dependent on them for trade, tribute and plunder for wealth. Now moving on, as they were controlling the garrison towns which are very far, like for example you can see on the screen here, in the Delhi region they were stationed, but they have places to control is the Bengal region somewhere in the far east and the Sindh region in the west. So from Delhi to west or Delhi to east, they are not able to control effectively the Sindh region and also the Bengal region. They are facing a lot of difficulties and regularly they used to have rebellion wars. Rebellion natured people, whenever they come to know that the Sultanate is becoming weak, they immediately rebel against the Sultan, basing on the Sultan's weakness. Bad weather conditions coming up, heavy rains, change of climatic conditions from one region to another region, delicate communication system, no proper communication. Delhi's authority was always challenged. See, they are in Delhi here, they have to control the Sindh region here or the Bengal region. Whenever they come to know that in Delhi the Sultan is having some kind of weakness or he is not feeling well, immediately from Afghanistan we used to get the Mongolian invasions to attack Delhi. Apart from the rebellions which are there in Sindh and Bengal region, they also have to face the external threats, that is the Mongolian invasions. Sultan barely survived these challenges. So there are a lot of challenges and threats to the Delhi Sultanate rulers or Delhi Sultans. One, internal threats. Two, external threats. Internal threats we can say as rebellions, wars or bad weather conditions, delicate communication network. And external threats we can categorize as Afghan rulers or Mongolian invasions from Afghanistan coming and attacking the governors and also the Sultan's army whenever they get a sign that Sultan is weak. So like this, the Delhi Sultans have external and internal problems. So the consolidation, the standardization occurred during the reign of Ghiyasuddin Balban. So Ghiyasuddin Balban and further expansion happened under the rule of Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So when they were unstable, they were having a lot of internal and external threats. From that situation to standardized, consolidated occurred during the reign of Ghiyasuddin Balban, and further expansion of the kingdom occurred under the leadership of Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The first set of campaigns along the internal frontiers, internal borders of the Sultanate was aimed at consolidating the hinterland, the inner land around the garrison towns, the lands around the garrison towns. The consolidation happened in the first campaigns. During these campaigns, when they were doing these campaigns, they have cleared lot of forests in the Ganga, Yamuna, Doab region. I think one reason why they have cleared the forest could be to figure out where the enemies are there, because in the forest they might be hiding. So that could be one reason, were expelled from their habitat. So they were given certain lands for the agriculture, for the peasants to do agriculture there, the lands which are cleared by clearing the forest. And we have new fortress, garrison towns and normal towns were established to protect the trade routes and to promote regional trade. So along the kingdom, across the kingdom, they have established like checkpost like regions where they have these garrison towns where they have kept certain army troops to protect the traders and the trade routes when they were coming with the products. So in the previous part of the video, we discussed that the kingdom was having internal and external threats. Internal threats, they had the rebellion of the governors, then they had the wars, then they had lack of communication, delicate communication. And coming to the external threats, we had the Mongolian invasions coming from Afghanistan. So these all were consolidated during the reign of Ghiyasuddin Balban, and they were further expanded under the rule of Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The first set of campaigns along the internal frontiers of the kingdom were made to consolidate the hinterlands of the garrison towns, because they were dependent on the tribute, they were dependent on the trade. So they want to eliminate that dependency. So they made occupying them and consolidated them. First, they consolidated them. Second thing, they campaigned and they cleared the forest, the Ganga, Yamuna, Doab region. You can see on the picture here, on the map here, the Ganga, Yamuna region. So in between these two rivers, the Doab region, where they joined, in that place, they cleared the forest. Hunter-gatherers, pastoralists were expelled from their habitat. Naturally, when we clear the forest, these people lost their livelihood. So these lands, what did they do? They gave it for peasants to encourage agriculture. Anyway, we know there is no problem for water. There are two rivers, Ganga and Yamuna. So apart from this, in these lands, they built new fortresses, garrison towns to protect the trade routes and also to promote regional trade. Like this, they started to consolidate their control and they're growing their power and influence in northern India. The second expansion occurred along the external frontiers of Delhi Sultanate. You can see here the military expeditions continued like this in different areas by different people as the time passed by, and by 1311 they reached to Thanjavur in South India. Earlier, they were struggling to control the regions from Delhi to Bengal and Delhi to Sindh region. Now they reached to a position where they were able to control and they are able to expand their control till Tanjavur region. Military expeditions in southern India started during the reign of Alauddin Khalji. The military expedition in southern India started during the reign of Alauddin Khalji, and it was culminated with Muhammad Tughlaq or Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So with Muhammad bin Tughlaq's rule, everything was consolidated and culminated. In their campaigns, the Sultanate armies always captured elephants, horses, slaves, and carried away the precious metals with them. So they used to capture the elephants, the horses, and the defeated army members, soldiers as slaves, and carried away the precious metals like gold, diamonds, and all. So by the end of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign, that is 150 years after somewhat humble beginning, the armies of the Delhi Sultanate have marched across a large part of the subcontinent. See, initially, they were struggling to gain control over Delhi region only. A slight hint that the Sultan is not feeling well, the weakness of Sultan, immediately there were people to rebel, to attack from Mongolia, Afghanistan region, from internal regions, from Sindh region, from the Bengal region, the Bengal region. From all these regions, they had threats. The communication network was very fragile, very delicate. But today, after 150 years, after the end of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign, they had control over a large part of the subcontinent. So you can see how the Delhi Sultanate rulers from garrison towns have grown to influence the entire Indian subcontinent. They had defeated the rival armies, seized cities, gained control over the enemies, surrendered them, forced them to surrender, and captured the cities, gained control over them. The Sultanate collected taxes from the peasants and dispensed justice in its realm, in its own way. Now, so today we have seen in the early 13th century where they were facing the difficulty to control the regions in Sindh and Bengal region. They never controlled, they seldom controlled, rarely controlled the hinterland cities. This was the beginning of the story. So by the time they slowly started to explain their weaknesses. To control Bengal and Sindh region, they are finding it extremely difficult. There were a lot of rebellions, wars, bad weather conditions, delicate communication routes, and the Delhi authority was always challenged by the Mongolian invasions and the local governors rebelling against Sultan's weaknesses. The Sultans used to barely survive. That was a condition. It was like a candle lit and holding hands on both the sides. If you remove the hands, immediately the candle will off. That's such delicate was the kingdom. Slowly the consolidation process started. It was started with the efforts of Ghiyasuddin Balban. After Ghiyasuddin Balban expanded the kingdom and consolidated the inner lands of the hinterland. Later, it went on to Alauddin Khalji. He occupied many regions till South India. He went till South India. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq curtailed everything and closed this one and culminated as a most powerful kingdom at that particular point of time. So they used to attack the rivals and defeat them. Earlier, the kingdom, which was feeling difficult to have control over Bengal region, and Sindh region. But here, now, they are able to defeat the enemy armies till they're down south, and they're able to control that. They seized certain cities from small town, outer parts of the towns where they used to stay, the garrison towns. They find very difficult to get control over the inner lands of the city or the town also. From that situation, they grew to a position where they can control the entire India till the south border of India. You can see on the map. So they collected taxes from the peasants and dispensed the justice. Now here comes the question: how complete and effective was its control over such a vast territory? Are they able to effectively control it? Are they able to effectively influence the entire India with one rule and one go? That was a question. But they reached from garrison towns to a vast empire in the entire Indian subcontinent. What a great achievement. That's all we have for today. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe.